Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we want to present about FGV Holding Berhad. The introduction of FGV Holding Berhad. FGV Holding Berhad, as known as Federal Global Venture Holding, is a Malaysian-based global agricultural and agri-commodities company. With operation worldwide, FGV produce oil palm and rubber plantation products, soybean and canola products. Its initial public offering in 2012 was the third largest in the world that year after Facebook and biggest IPO in Asia with $3.1 billion. It was initially incorporated as a commercial arm of Federal Land Development Authority, as known as FELDA, in 2007 to oversee investment in the upstream and downstream palm oil business as well as other agribusiness. FGV is supported by a strong workforce of more than 45,000 people. We are focused primarily on three core business sectors: plantation, sugar and logistics. Next, FGV Rubber Industries Sendirian Berhad, FGVRISB, is incorporated in 1995. FGV Rubber Industries Sendirian Berhad, as known as FGVRISB, is one of the largest standard Malaysia rubber (SMR) producers in Malaysia with 4 factories throughout Malaysia. They own one latex concentrate factory in Thailand, one factory in Cambodia producing Cambodian standard rubber (CSR), and one factory in Indonesia producing standard Indonesian rubber (SIR). We have obtained accreditation from major global Thai manufacturers for all the existing SMR factories such as the Michelin, Continental, Bridgestone, Camco, Goodyear, GT and Toyo. They have regular engagement with the Malaysia Rubber Board (MRB), the custodian of the rubber industry in Malaysia, as well as Tun Abdul Razak Research Centre (TARRC) in London.
Assalamualaikum, and today I will discuss about the process involving for SMR10. There are 5 processes that involve for making SMR10. The first one is raw materials, the second one is processing, the third one is drying, the fourth baling, and the last one is packing. So for the raw materials that are used for in this process, mainly used is cup lumps and unsmoked rubber sheet. There are two raw materials that are mainly used for this process. And for the processing process, they are separated to three stages, where the first one is pre-cleaning, the second one is scraping, and the last one is final size reduction. The pre-cleaning process, the machine that we use for this process is MUHAMAD machine and pre-breaker. Why we use this machine? Because it can reduce the size of the raw materials, and MUHAMAD machine also have high capability of removing dirt, so it can remove dirt from the raw materials. So for the second stage, the machine that we use for this process is macerator. Why we use this machine? Because it can reduce the thickness of the raw materials, and the other function of this machine also is used for flattening, thinning and cleaning, and the raw materials can be turned to creping pieces after flattening. So For the final stage, there is final size reduction. We use shredder. We use the machine called shredder for this process. And why we use this machine? Because it can reduce the size of the material. After we finish the processing process, the raw material will go through the drying process. In this process, the water from the raw material will be removed during the process. And in this process, we use intermediate temperature between 40 Celsius to 60 Celsius, and this process will continue for 4 to 6 days. The raw material will be dried in an open air or smoke house, and we also can get the shorter period of time for this dry process by drying the raw material at 90 Celsius to 100 Celsius, 130 Celsius under air circulation. After the drying process, we go to the baling process. In this process, the raw materials will be cooled by the cooling facilities that attach to the dryers, and these raw materials will be cooled under 50 degrees Celsius. After that, the raw materials will be pressed under the hydraulic presses that have 100 metric tons capacity. For the packing process, the last process. Technically, standard natural rubber, or the short term for this name is TSR, are packed individually, alone, separately in plastic, polythene, and organized on the pallet. And wooden crate or stick crate also used for packing this TSR. Thank you.
Alright, we move to the next slide, which is current development. During the long journey in the rubber production, the international markets always looking for new developments in rubber processing to produce high quality of products. Due to the waste problems from the rubber industries worldwide, the markets always demand for the eco-friendly rubbers. To make sure the company always in the track, the FGV always believe with their researcher to invent new quality of rubber. And they are also the sole producer of quality rubber products in Malaysia. Their products are well accepted worldwide. The FGVRISB proudly produced the new invention in rubber industry, which is green rubber or specialty rubber, which is first Ecoprina. Ecoprina is a form of epoxidized natural rubber ENR, and it is an established class of specialty rubber obtained by epoxidation of natural NR latex. Two commercial grades offered are ENR25 and ENR50 for tires and non-tires. ENR latex being introduced forward further on butter base, which more environmental friendly to replace solvent base. Second, Pure-Prina. Pure-Prina is a new generation of deprotonized natural rubber (DPNR), which is produced by treating fresh natural latex with an industrial enzyme which hydrolyzes all natural occurring proteins in the latex into water-soluble forms. FGVRISB has been awarded exclusive rights by the Malaysian Rubber Board (MRB) to produce green rubber under the brand names Ecoprina and Pureprina. Commercial production of Ecoprina and Pureprina at their Palong egg factory had commenced in end 2012.
Hello, today I will explain about material that commonly used. First, feed-grade rubber, autocoagulate. Feed-grade rubbers are those that have autocoagulate in the field. Feed-grade rubbers may be divided into four groups. That is, Kaplam, Trilase, Bulk Scrub, and Ground Scrub. First, Kaplam. Kaplam is the coagulate material found in the collection cup when the tapper net visits the tree to tap it again. It arises from latex clinging to the walls of the cup after the latex was last poured into the bucket, and from that dripping latex acidic before the latex carrying vessels of the tree become blocked. Kaplam is the rubber derived from the after dripping of latex left in the cup following latex collection. For the second group is Trilase. Trilase is the thin strip of rubber derived from the last drops of latex flowing from the tapping cut and down growth and spot. It is contaminated with iron and manganese ion absorbed from the bark of the tree and often contains bark chippings. For the third group, bark scrub is the thin film of rubber derived from latex that has overflowed the cut due to poor tapping practice of rain interference. The former includes too large or too small a tapping cut angle, insufficient depth of cut, blunt knife. And last but not least, the fourth group is ground scrap. Ground scrap is a rubber derived from latex that has overflowed the cup due to bad tapping practice, inefficient field management, and rain interference. Ground scrap is contaminated with leaf, earth, and twigs, and is rarely encountered. For the latex concentrate, it has high ammonia latex concentrate 60% DRC and low ammonia latex concentrate 60% DRC, and lastly medium ammonia latex concentrate 60% DRC. And next, raw material. The composition of latex sac consists of 30 to 40% rubber particles, 55 to 65% water, and small amounts of protein, sterile glycoside, resins, ash, and sugars. Rubber has high elasticity and a polymer molecular structure. This structure consists of a long chain made up of tens of thousands of smaller units, called monomers, strung together. Each monomer unit has a molecular size comparable with that of simple substance such as sugar. Other special chemicals are used as preservative or stimulants during the harvesting process. And both synthetic and natural rubber production require the use of vulcanizing chemicals, primarily sulfur. Fillers such as carbon black are also added to provide extra strength and stiffness. Oil is often used to help processing and reduce cost.
Okay, now we move to type of SMR produced by FGV Holdings. There are 4 types of SMR produced by FGV Holding, which is SMR 10, SMR 20, SMR 10 CV, SMR 20 CV. Okay, now we move to flow diagram of SMR 10 and SMR 20 production. There are 2 types of materials, which is clean materials and dirt materials. First, we go through the clean materials first. First, the granulator need to proceed to extruder and then dryer, and lastly press or packing. And secondly, the dirt materials need proceed to granulator or creeper hammer mill, and then move to granulator, and then extruder, and then dryer, and lastly press or packing. And creeper several passes down, go to creeper or hammer mill shredder, and go to dryer, and lastly press or packing. And chemical treatment need to go down through the dryer, and lastly press or packing. Okay, now we move to phase. There are 3 phases in the SMR 10 and SMR 20, which is pre-cleaning, creeping, and final reduction.
First, we move to pre-cleaning. First, pre-cleaning. Pre-cleaning carried out by macerator, granulator, or hammer mill. This can expose new surfaces which facilitate the dirt removal. And then the function of granulator is it more quieter to operate than hammer mill. And the hammer mill brings little size reduction but surface cleaning. And lastly, limitation of hammer mill not be suitable for large proportion of tree lasers because it will wind around the hammers and jam it. Secondly, we have creeping. The pre-cleaned materials creep into blanket. It depends on how the type of raw materials and the grade of SMR required. Well-performed blanket, well shirred and blended, it can pose less problems in drying. Rough diamond creeper placed before the final one. Creepers are normally arranged in either line ahead or side by side manner. And lastly, we have final reduction. Final reduction. Shredded crumbs which had accumulated in the tanks tend to agglomerate themselves. In the results in wet centers problem in the dry rubber biscuits. It is highly recommended because the castor oil be used whenever the shredder is used as the final size reduction machine. Another inherent problem in the use of shredder, it requires frequent sharpening of the cutting edges. The blunt edges reduce cutting efficiency. Okay, then we move to blending technique. There are 5 main aims to obtain high degree of consistency in the production of SMR10 and SMR20. First, during reception, raw materials from different consignment discharged into several reception tanks as evenly as possible. Each tank have materials of different consignment. Second, the materials from different storage tanks are fed into the pre-treatment machine simultaneously. Third, the use of blending tank in the pre-treatment stage. Fourth, crisps are blended by folding and overlapping passes during crimping. And lastly, number 5, the drying trolley compartments are filled up with wet crumbs simultaneously. And lastly, chemical treatment. At times, due to poor quality of the raw materials processed, chemical treatment is necessary to boost up the PRI properties of the materials. The most widely used treatment for PRI problem is soak wet crumb in 0.5% to 1.0% phosphoric acid solution before they are loaded into the drying trolleys. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, the last part is conclusion. Why need SMR scam? First, to increase its output of high quality natural rubber through the rubber production incentive scheme and infrastructure improvement to boost latex. Second, to increase productivity rate from 1.2 ton per hectare to 2 ton per hectare. Third, to categorize quality natural rubber of SMR for multiply purpose such as tire industry, glove industry and footwear industry. Fourth, to produce specialty rubber such as epoxidized natural rubber ENR, deproteinized natural rubber DPNR, and thermoplastic epoxidized natural rubber TPNR, and latex concentrate including low protein latex. Example, specialty rubber is used in tire industry to make the inliner of tire. Where natural rubber process. FGV Rubber Industri Sdn Berhad. FGVRISB is the one largest standard Malaysian rubber SMR producer in Malaysia with 4 factories throughout Malaysia. FGV Holdings supply many processed natural rubber such as SMR 10, SMR 20, SMR 10 CV, and SMR 20 CV. FGV Holding is competitive and reliable industry that not only produce natural rubber but also operate another industries. Other than that, price of rubber are increasing because it high demand from industry like mobile industry, glove industry, and etc. Thank you.